What was the first interview questions you were asked as a software engineer? My first interview question was actually very interesting. This was an entry level position for a front end engineer, and trust me, I wasn't even like, I was so prepared for something else. I wasn't expecting the question to come from there. The question is, when you open up a browser and you type in google.com, it shows you a web page, and then you have an input where you can search whatever you want. The question now goes, what happens as the user type in input into the search input, and when you click on go to go get the result? Explain in technical terms what happened from that point. I mean, this was a very really good question because it kind of like covers everything you have to know as a software engineer, um, at least given for an entry level role position. The way I'll answer this question, there is multiple parts to this, okay? So there is some part of what actually happens as the user typing into the input. You can have the element collect the input and it populates some kind of a store within the browser memory, meaning the user can type in whatever that they want, but that application is not has not stored those information within its server. Meaning, if you type in something you're trying to search and you refresh the browser, those what you type in will be gone and you can't even get it back. So that is one layer to like how you can actually implement uh, collecting user data from the browser and then sending it back to the server to get some details. Um, but for this particular, um, but for this interview question, in my mind, I was thinking, oh, there's multiple things that could happen, right? Like you can talk about how from what happens from your browser to, um, you know, like get the Google page, and then talk about what happens when the Google page comes back, and then when the user actually put in input into the the search input, and then you can go further down and talk about when all the events that has to happen within the browser before the request goes out. There are multiple ways to actually implement these two type of events. Um, One can be an HTTP request, and a different one might be a form submit, meaning the browser is gonna take that. Even if the browser JavaScript is not enabled, this form can still be submitted and search for and post a message into the server. And then you can go into details of what happens on the server, the HTTP request, is it a post, is it a put, is it what kind of request it is, and then you can talk about there are multiple ways Google is actually searching for the data and returning it back to the user. You might not want to go into the details of all of that. You don't necessarily even need to know all of that, but just going round and making sure you talk about basically what happens within the browser when you are actually making some kind of request to the server and then retrieving back the information and then presenting the information to the user. I kind of like dabbled a little bit into the details with the interviewer at the time, but it was a really good example. And for a kicker, majority of the questions that I ask are, my interviewee these days are around this topic because I find it very interesting, and only if you know what exactly you're doing, that is the only time you actually be able to answer that kind of question. I hope this kind of uh, explains, give you some kind of insight as to like what is front-end engineering, and also what kind of knowledge you will be required to know to be able to work in this field.